Okay. Well, it's 10:15, so we're going to start this session. Welcome everybody to track 2. This is the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society presentation. Um, I am Nikki Adams. I will be the room monitor. I represent the Department of Health on the Developmental Disabilities Council. Just a couple little reminders during the session. If you have any questions, we will be taking them at the end. There is a chat feature that you can type in your questions. There's also a question and answer. You can use either of them. I will, look at both of them then at the end for Julianne to answer those questions for you. There is a closed captioning feature during the presentation. You can click off to the left of your screen on closed captioning, and the captions will automatically populate. We also have an ASL interpreter who will be interpreting the session. I'm going to hand it over now to Julianne Schrader-Ortega with the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society to present. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I am just trying to make sure I share the right screen here. Let me see here. Are folks able to see my PowerPoint screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Hold on one sec. Okay, I think I'm good to go here. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm Julianne Schrader-Ortega. I'm the Chief and Vice President of Healthy Neighborhoods at the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society. So today I'm going to be speaking about, I'll tell you a little bit about PHS. I'm also going to share our mission and our impact priorities. I'll tell you more about my work with the Healthy Neighborhoods team, and then I'll focus on our community gardens, vacant land, and job training program, and how we pivoted during COVID to continue to have our impacts. And then I'll make sure to save a lot of time for questions. I also want to thank my ASL interpreters today. It's really wonderful to have you here. So the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society was founded in 1827. And though many things have changed since our founding almost 200 years ago, PHS remains committed to using horticulture to improve the health and well-being of the greater Philadelphia region. Together with a diverse community of more than 300,000 supporters, volunteers, and gardeners, PHS believes in the power of horticulture to make positive social and environmental change. As a community, we invest our time, our passion, our money, and our gardens to really trying to make positive social and environmental change. And we believe that gardening belongs to everyone. We invite everyone to join us in using gardening to advance 4 impact priorities: improving the environment, increasing access to fresh food, helping people build social connections with their neighbors, and growing economic opportunity. And these are all building blocks of health and well-being. So on my Healthy Neighborhoods team, we support neighborhood leaders to drive big change that they envision by connecting them with layers of technical assistance, often provided by people in the community. We also connect them with materials, infrastructure, volunteers, and partners. Whatever's really needed to realize their goals to use gardening to improve health and well-being in their neighborhoods. And PHS is really unique in Philadelphia, as we're the largest resource of our kind in Philly that provides leadership and backbone support for community gardening, tree programs, stormwater solutions, vacant land cleaning and greening, and job training. So now I'll focus on sharing some details and lessons learned from our community gardens, vacant land, and workforce development programs. I'll talk a little bit about how we pivoted to help Philadelphians recover from pandemic-related job loss and the rising need for food during COVID, and how we supported communities to rebuild healthy living environments and social connections as well. Okay. So the ability to provide food for yourself and your family and your community is really a basic human right. Yet lack of healthy food access remains a pressing problem in Philadelphia and in our country. So for decades, many of our neighbors live in homes without access to enough food to live healthy, active lives. Philly ranks in top 10 US cities with food insecure residents. And that was before COVID. And there's still a lot that we're learning about how COVID has impacted and will continue to impact hunger. Hunger America released a report last fall, that was trying to project the impact of COVID on food insecurity rates. So before COVID, a 2018 Hunger America report said that 16.3% of Philadelphians live in food insecure households. And this is estimated to have gone up to 22% in 2020. And really, because of systemic racism and our country's long history of discriminatory practices and policies, Black Americans are more likely to live in poverty and face unemployment and have less wealth than white Americans. And all the driving forces around food insecurity and all are caused by our long history of systemic racism. So, and Black neighbors are also more likely to hold jobs that are affected by the pandemic and more vulnerable to economic shutdown that we've all been experiencing. So, and Black Americans also experience worse health outcomes from COVID due to a combo of factors that also stem from this longstanding economic and health inequities caused by systemic racism. So, now more than ever, we really feel the need to provide for ourselves, our families, and our communities. The existing food system is broken, and it became more apparent during COVID. So community and cooperative gardens really, along with other forms of small-scale agriculture, can really help build resilient communities, foster relationships, and preserve cultures, and do so much more. So PHS is really focused on supporting community gardeners in their efforts to increase access to fresh produce. We provide gardening materials and do advocacy around urban farming. We also provide opportunities for gardeners to share their expertise and lift up their expertise among other gardeners in the city. And one of the big challenges in Philadelphia is access to land, so for the gardeners. So we've been partnering with the Neighborhood Gardens Trust, which is an affiliate of PHS, and they're really like the garden protectors. So they work with gardeners to try to navigate sustainable and long-term land tenure so that the gardeners feel okay investing their sweat, their resources into tending and really transforming underused spaces in Philadelphia into really neighborhood assets. And here in Philly, we have for more or less 40,000 vacant lots. So there's a lot of opportunity for really transforming these spaces into something that's much more useful for the community. So when we were all home in spring 2020, we were really committed to figuring out how we could continue to support our network of community gardens so that they could continue to grow and share food in their neighborhoods. So some of the things that we did was we worked with the city and partners to make sure that gardens were deemed essential, so people were allowed to be in their gardens. We also collaborated on creating guidelines for keeping everyone healthy while gardening together. And we had to do things like reinvent how we distributed seedlings so that people could get access to seedlings without jeopardizing their health or safety. We pivoted and created virtual videos to try to support and help gardeners share their expertise across networks. And we were really proud that we were able to continue this work because we've been doing it for over 50 years. And we really see community gardens as a key piece of our city's infrastructure, helping to build more resilient communities and foster relationships, increase access to fresh produce, and really transform underused and often blighted spaces and neighborhoods into assets and resources for the communities. So currently we support about 150 gardens across Philadelphia. Each one is really unique in how they're organized and the cultures of the gardens, what they grow, how they share their harvests. There's a lot of diversity in how they structure and organize themselves as community gardens. And all this diversity and autonomy for these 150 garden spaces is really essential to having these grassroots spaces created and tended in a way that strengthens their own neighborhoods. So we try to focus on supporting gardeners with materials and opportunities to share their expertise in a way that is really thinking about their long-term successes. So this is a little sample of the different types of resources that PHS provides to community gardens. And it's really we really try to tailor our support to be very personalized and based on where the gardens are in their organizational life cycle. So if you're a brand new garden, just emerging, you might need more help with how to organize yourselves, or maybe would like to learn from some of the longer term gardeners who have a lot of expertise in navigating some of the technical challenges of gardening. So some of the things that we provide are, we have a Garden Tenders and Growing Organic workshop series. Again, we really try to uplift the expertise that exists within the gardeners themselves. So trying to find opportunities for them to share their tips. We also provide supplies and materials, and in Philly, this is essential. Things like row cover are really hard to get if you're trying to grow organically, and having row cover when you're freshly planted your seedlings really helps that have as productive a garden as possible by helping to navigate some of the pest issues organically. New this year, we created a tool library, and this really came from the gardeners, and we borrowed a lot from Grow Pittsburgh and their tool library. So we learned a lot from their experiences and even borrowed the software that they use. So we're very appreciative of the learnings that we have from other organizations across the country that also provide backbone support to community gardens. We do a lot of technical assistance too. We have a lot that we've learned over the years from other gardeners. So we help share these lessons learned. We help with volunteer assistance too. So if your garden is going to be having a big work day or it has a need for a big work day, we'll try to rally some volunteers to come out and support you. In our tool library, you can borrow tools. You can also borrow like enough tools to host a big work day. Or if you're going to have a social event, you can have tables, a projector, even if you want to do a movie night in your garden. We do a leadership workshop series. We also help with capital improvements, which I think is huge because a lot of times the grassroots gardeners are investing a lot of their own resources, but something like a water line, which could cost $8,000, is really hard to raise the funds for a lot of times. So we do some fundraising. We also have a small endowment to help support gardeners with some of these capital improvements, new fences, sheds, grading a site, putting in new beds. We also help with soil testing, and some of the supplies that we do provide is compost, which I think we've been really lucky to have access to this Laurel Valley mushroom mix, which we found to be very, very helpful in having productive gardens. So again, we really try to tailor these resources to where a garden is in their life cycle. So together, we really have been rebuilding, helping to rebuild communities by equipping people to grow and share food. We've also been helping to reform by promoting and providing tools to support networks of self-reliance, which I think during this past year has become really apparent to all of us, the need for having these stronger connections with our neighbors and people that we can rely on right in our community to help us through navigate these more challenging times. And it's places like gardens where you build those social connections with your neighbors across ages, or if you're new to the neighborhood or a long-term resident, across languages. It's really been effective at helping people promote these social connections, which help make all of us stronger. So we also, last spring, we're trying to think, how can we build on our experience supporting community gardeners to really help gardeners grow and share food at a much higher level. So about 12 years ago, gardeners came to us and they said, I have so much extra produce. Can you help us figure out ways to share this produce in our neighborhoods? So we started City Harvest Program, which connected them in partnership with Share, which is another organization here that supports a lot of food pantries, soup kitchens. We connected the gardeners with soup kitchens and food pantries right in their neighborhoods. And then we realized that if we were able to give gardeners access to seedlings, like beautiful organic seedlings, really early in the season and late in the season, we would have an opportunity for them to have even more productive gardens and share even more produce. So we started to set up community-based green resource centers. We have 5 of them now, and they're all in partnership with local community-based organizations. And these have a greenhouse, they have community garden beds, a pavilion or some area for meeting, usually have a walk-in cooler, and some other resources too. And at these green resource centers, we grow seedlings. We grow 250,000 seedlings every year that are given out during 5 or 6 distribution days. And during COVID, we had to do deliveries of all these seedlings, which definitely was complicated, but we were happy to be able to continue having the impact. Now we've been doing contactless pickup. So being able to grow our own seedlings really allows us to grow culturally relevant produce that's important to the different cultures of the gardeners across the city. So for instance, we have a lot of gardeners from Southeast Asian refugee gardeners, and the ability for them to grow certain eggplants that they haven't had in a long time, or greens that are really important to them, is wonderful. We also grow a lot of different chili peppers, a bunch of different types of tomatoes, and other crops that are important to Caribbean gardeners or gardeners from the Congo. So, it's a real gift to a lot of the different gardeners, because you can't just go to your local Home Depot or even garden center and pick up seedlings that have this big variety that's important to the cultural roots of a lot of the gardeners in Philadelphia. So, and then we also do things like give out direct sow seeds, as well as organic pest control supplies, which have been really helpful in having very productive gardens. So the City Harvest sites are able to share a lot more in their neighborhoods. And some do provide donations to soup kitchens, food pantries. Others just set up farm stands for free, or low-cost farm stands in their neighborhoods. Others just share the produce among the gardeners themselves and neighborhood families. So it really is helping to build these networks of self-reliance. So the things that we provide are these garden materials, technical support, organic seeds, seedlings, and supplies, and lots of community partnerships for donations. So last spring, when we were all home, we wanted to build on all this expertise and networks that we had in growing and sharing food in Philadelphia at community gardens to try to support home gardeners to also join a collective effort to grow and share food with our families, our neighbors, and local food pantries. So what we did was we set up this PHS harvest, and we invited everyone to join us and get involved and tried to make it really easy for people to participate. So we invited people to pledge and to grow and share food on our website, and then we virtually handheld them through the process. And internally at PHS, this was really interesting too, because we had to figure out how to make this happen while we all were busy doing other work too. So we worked across teams. PHS produces the Philadelphia Flower Show, so that had just ended, and we weren't sure what was going to happen with the flower show in 2021. So we were able to pull some of our flower show talent to help us put together this PHS Harvest initiative. So we created a whole online library of learning guides for new gardeners so that they could learn how to grow, maintain, and harvest a garden with healthy edibles. We did a lot of networking with local retailers and nurseries. At that time, if you remember, in Pennsylvania, a lot of them were closed. So we had to figure out who was doing home delivery services or no contact pickups. The ability to place orders online. And then we also worked with our network of hunger relief organizations, Fill Abundance, Share, and others, Coalition Against Hunger, Food Bank of South Jersey, to reach out to their agencies, the soup kitchens, food pantries, and see who was open to accepting deliveries from home gardeners. And then we created maps on our website, so you could look in your neighborhood and find where was the local soup kitchen food pantry, what day would they be accepting produce, who was the main volunteer, what's the time, and then we had lots of guides for how to prep the produce, which produce was good for growing, and really tried to make it very easy for people. Another big part of Harvest was we raised funds, and so if people weren't up for growing and sharing produce while they were at home, maybe they'd want to donate some money to help others grow and share produce in their communities. And we were really lucky to partner with a few neighborhood-based organizations to help provide tools to promote these networks of self-reliance. So one of the partner organizations is this group, the Sankofa Community Farm at Bartram's Garden. And they had a Build a Bread program for residents nearby the garden they would help, a low-cost program where they would help build a few raised beds in their front or backyard and support these gardeners in new gardeners in growing food for their families. So with money from the PHS Harvest, we were able to support these home garden beds being built. We also worked really closely with other organizations, Nicetown Community Development Corporation and Tioga United, to provide low-cost or free home gardening in a container supplies. We delivered them to about 30 families in these communities and helped support them in growing and sharing food. So, I think it was really important to have all these different partnerships. And on our website, we had online food growing courses, we had monthly food growing learning circles, we had maps of the retailers, we had maps of the soup kitchens, food pantries, forms for people to track their harvest, and made it easy for people to donate funds to support PHS Harvest and the work of our partners. We even were able to partner with an organization called Food Connect. So if a home gardener had produce to share but wasn't able to donate it themselves, they could call Food Connect and they would come and send volunteer to pick up the produce and drop it off at a soup kitchen or food pantry. So, I think overall, Harvest really enabled PHS to engage and mobilize a wide audience of people to garden, donate food, and we even equipped over 85 families with supplies to start their own gardens. And we really were able to sustain and grow partnerships. We also received a lot of press for PHS, which was helpful, especially during a time when we weren't in the field as much. So it was able to really help people see PHS as a resource for improving the health and well-being in their neighborhoods by using gardening. And we learned a lot, and we definitely have been incorporating a lot of lessons learned into this year's PHS harvest. Let's see here. So here are some of the stats from last year's harvest. We had 10,471 people participate. Almost 40,000 pounds of produce was tracked that was donated. We gave out 35 free gardening kits and 50 low-cost home garden beds. Just some other highlights. I was going to give some more details. We had like 2,300 people attend our online food growing webinars, which, you know, I think we all are missing in-person interactions, but the power of these virtual conferences and workshops really does allow a broad reach of people to attend. We've never had that kind of attendance for our food growing workshops. And we had 184 people donate money to support the effort. Most of the participants were largely beginner and intermediate gardeners, and there was a small number of expert gardeners that joined in. And we did ask the participants how, at the end of the season, how their experience was. And we had a net promoter score of almost 55% of participants said that they would likely recommend Harvest to a friend. We also felt it was really effective at helping us to form partnerships and grow partnerships with businesses and organizations throughout the region. So we had 13 nonprofits organizations sign on as official partners. We worked with 171 food distribution sites, 34 horticulture businesses, 15 community organizations and nonprofits, 12 hunger relief organizations, and 5 public gardens. So I think that, like PHS, a lot of our partner organizations spoke highly of Harvest 2020 because they appreciated that it enabled them to connect with audiences when we were mostly virtual and during that uncertain time. And it also helped increase their visibility. We also were able to, while we were able to motivate a lot of gardeners to grow and share food, there was definitely more demand for fresh food than the gardeners participating in the program could fulfill. So this is definitely one piece of a solution, and I think is really helpful at helping people learn how to grow and also promote these networks of self-reliance. And you know, a lot of our, both the food pantries and Food Connect really emphasize that every donation matters by helping to meet a family's need for fresh fruit and vegetables. So we are hoping to increase the amount that we're able to get people to donate now and in the future. On our website, you know, I think a lot of us had a lot more time at home surfing the web. So we had almost 3 times as many page views on our library guides, on our Harvest library guides than compared to any others during this time period. And a lot of the gardeners reported that they grew new types of produce that they hadn't grown before last year. They harvested more produce and they felt like they had healthier soil. So I think that overall, gardeners said that they were more motivated to grow as part of this collective effort and that tracking their harvest helped them better understand their yield and impact and that it was fun. I think it was hard to get everybody to track their produce. We found that in our history of working with community gardeners, and I think we're not alone. So we do think that these, I think at the end, around this 36,000 pounds of produce donated represents about 200,000 servings of fresh food and fresh fruit and vegetables to feed people throughout the region. So I think, you know, it also was really helpful in us building new audiences in PHS. We had this huge increase in YouTube followers and engagement with the campaign, and we were able to get a lot of press. So we were featured in almost 500 digital print news and articles and 29 radio broadcasts. So it's a potential reach of over 500 million viewers. So we had some of the stories also feature our partners, while some featured PHS directly. So we're taking all these lessons learned into this year, and so far we have had, and I think we've updated this in the last few weeks since I submitted the presentation for this conference. So I think we've had 7,000 pounds of produce donated so far. We tried to simplify the website, try to engage people more during the season to make sure they were aware of the lots of resources that we had. And we even did an in-person meetup for the first time because we weren't able to do that last year. Last week we had it, and about 50 people joined in an in-person meetup to share lessons learned and learn some hands-on activities, and also walked away with some seedlings. So I think, there definitely has been a benefit to doing a lot more learning and pivoting and testing new strategies for engaging broader audiences to join PHS in using gardening to improve health and well-being through food gardening. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about transforming vacant land and our workforce development programs. So, like I said before, in Philadelphia, there's up to 40,000 vacant lots across the city. And while the city doesn't own all these lots, they understand that they have to deal with the issues and challenges that come from these blighted lots. So the city has been investing in a partner with PHS. They use tax dollars and CDBG funding to help PHS and a network of partners clean, green, and maintain about 12,000 of the vacant lots across Philadelphia. So this is, a pretty basic land treatment, and it really is a community development, economic development program in that we work with about 15 local contractors and 18 community-based organizations who hire 250 people a year to clean and green these lots. And the effects on community health and well-being have been really impressive too. So this is a before and an after. You can see that the treatment is pretty basic. It's we go in, we remove all the trash, we grade the site, we put in a post and rail fence and grass seed mix and trees where we can. And the big part is that we are able to maintain the site twice a week from April through October. And you can see and imagine what a difference this would be in your mindset if you woke up every morning and looked out your door and saw this trash covered lot versus this mini park. Here's another one. And sometimes community members will plant gardens. We've also planted pollinator gardens in select sites too. Because of the scale, the 12,000 vacant lots, we really have to make sure this is sort of a baseline treatment. In an ideal world, we think every lot in Philly would have this basic treatment. And then where community capacity existed or more funding existed, we could do more gardens. We also in Philly are really lucky to have the mural arts program. So sometimes we try to target some of our lots if they're next to walls that have been painted on for murals. So they're really amazing if you're able to create a mini park in front of the murals or vice versa. So, and luckily we have been really fortunate to partner with UPenn, Columbia, and the Forest Service to really help demonstrate the impacts of this work. And a lot of my work, it's hard to do controlled studies, but because this is a pretty basic land care treatment, we were able to do controlled randomized studies, which really help prove the impacts. So again, it's this like simple treatment, but really has profound benefits on the community. It's been shown communities, neighborhoods with this treatment to have a 29% reduction in gun violence and a 69% reduction in feelings of depression and helplessness. And there is a lot of benefits to the local economy by hiring local workers. So we have, like I said, 18 community land care groups and 15 contractors. We have almost 80% of these contractors are minority or women owned, and 250 people a year are hired by these groups to do the work. So this is really supporting recovery in that it's giving people with barriers to employment an opportunity to practice and learn job skills in horticulture. Since 2010, we've offered job training and placement programs for people returning from the Philadelphia prison system or have other barriers to employment. So our graduates of our job training program are placed with employer partners that clean and green as part of the PHS Land Care program. We're also rebuilding by transforming vacant lots into these mini parks to create healthy living environments, and really helping to reform by providing these job opportunities. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our workforce development programs. So we have a boot camp training program that supports formerly incarcerated people or people with other barriers to employment. And it's a 6-week program that includes job readiness, conflict resolution, healthy lifestyle, education, supportive services. We also do on-the-job training around horticulture and landscaping skills, job placement, and ongoing support. So, and after graduation, PHS provides continued case management and job placement with partners. So they do training in horticulture, a lot of landscape maintenance, leadership, workplace leadership training. We also did OSHA 10 certificate. We did an expungement clinic as well, and really tried to tailor the supports to help set the participants and the graduates up for success, this next step in their career, and also learn some lifelong career skills. And then because we're working really closely with the landscaping contractors, we're able to tailor the training in order to support the employer's needs as well. So it's 6 weeks with PHS and 4 weeks with PHS and 2 weeks on the job training with our land care contractors. Yes, and then we also have this 2-week paid apprenticeship. So for the successful, it's basically like a long job interview. So for the successful graduates, they usually continue with those employer partners, and sometimes we'll switch. If you're a graduate of the program, but it wasn't a great match, we can switch the contractor and your employer partner. The case management has really been essential, and we're really lucky to get support from the Institute for Development for African American Youth, who's been an amazing case manager and also leads the workplace leadership training. We try to make sure it's easy for people to participate, so they get paid a stipend. We provide trans passes. We also provide their work gear, and really try to reduce some of the barriers for people to participate. So this year, in addition to our longer term workforce development training, we were able to get some funding from Philadelphia City Council for PHS to be a backbone organization and support community-based organizations in offering these like same-day work and pay opportunities. So participants spend a day doing work that's supporting like the land care effort. So they try out horticulture jobs, they test their interest in learning more while they're earning $100 for their efforts. So they do things like cleaning commercial corridors, helping with the lots, helping repair some of the fences. And we are working with 7 community-based organizations right now. Some of them are our partners in land care, the vacant land program, and others are newer. And our goal is to try to have 1,000 jobs offered across Philadelphia by the end of October. So we also have used this as like kind of a vetting process where organizations can refer participants in same-day work and pay to join our more intensive boot camp training. So there've been some great testimonials from the participants. I'm just going to read this from from the participants, but also from the people who are living in neighborhoods where these folks are cleaning and helping to improve the livable environment for their communities. So Derek Joshua, he's a block captain in the Nicetown neighborhood, said, "I would like to thank the Nicetown CDC for helping us to clean up our block. Our block is primarily senior citizens, so the large pieces of debris we had trouble removing ourselves, but the same-day work and pay participants were very helpful, and we appreciate you all. This is a very good program, and we all hope that you continue the program throughout the summer," which we are doing. And then this is one of the participants too. "Honestly speaking, this opportunity has done a lot for me mentally. It has restored my confidence. the confidence that a young Black male needs to survive inside of this world. To be able to go out, work, and strive to provide for himself and his family has restored my dedication. Personally, I needed this opportunity to reteach me the type of man I know I will be in the future. So I think, these kinds of successes are really due to the efforts of our community-based partners. So I think we've been really lucky at identifying very strong partners. We're working with a group called One Day at a Time. We're working with the Institute for Development for African American Youth, Nicetown Community Development Corporation, Achievability, Giving of Self Partnership, and a few others, Centennial Parkside, and a few others who really know their neighborhoods well and have a lot of other existing programs that are supporting people with barriers to employment. So I think this is helpful in them scaling up their efforts already to help promote job opportunities among their neighborhoods. And we're really grateful to City Council for really investing in this work. And we are able to continue in the spring of 2022 as well. So I think I'm ready to take questions if folks have questions. Again, I just want to thank everybody for being with me and also for the opportunity to participate today.
Okay, if anybody has any questions, please put it in the chat or the Q&A. We did have one question about the will this PowerPoint be available to receive? And Sarah did say yes, the PowerPoints and recordings are going to be sent out. So if you have any other questions, like I said, if you would like to put them in the chat or the Q&A, and then we can have Julianne answer them for you. Okay, so we have one question. How can a citizen get involved with PHS in one of these initiatives?
Well, we're inviting everyone to join us. So if you're in the greater Philadelphia region, we would love for you to reach out. My contact information is on the screen right now, and tell me a little bit about what area you're most interested in working in. If you're outside of Philadelphia, I think, and the surrounding counties, I think we do have opportunities to collaborate and do similar efforts with some of our partner organizations beyond the Philly region. And obviously, we always accept people to join us and welcome people to join us as members to help support this work and make sure that this work's able to continue.
Okay, I'm going to try to unmute Diane Perry. She would like to ask a question. Let's see if this works here.
And Nikki, do you think I should stop sharing my screen?
If you want to, I don't think, that's up to you.
Okay.
It's not giving me the opportunity to do that. And is Sarah still on?
Hi, this is Becky. So I just promoted Diane to panelist. So Diane, you should be able to unmute yourself and ask your question. You can also start your camera if you would like to be on camera. That's up to you.
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Julianne. This was very helpful and kind of had my wheels turning a little bit. And it was kind of hard to type in my question. That's why I wanted to be unmuted.
Sure.
I'm assuming the summit that we're at is, for organizations, people that are family members that have either a family member or work within the system of people with disabilities. And this presentation made me really think about how that networking and building community can really be expanded in the disability world, which I think is really wonderful. And you gave so many different areas of what I heard, not only just the working in the gardens, but the leadership opportunities, the planning of it. I mean, there's so many different factors and pieces that I really, truly didn't know that there were so many different opportunities for someone, if they don't want to get into the dirt, then maybe they're in the planning phase, or maybe they're doing a different piece. There's just so many pieces to what you described, which I think are really, really cool. And then the social piece, I heard you mention about a movie night at one of the places, which I thought was really cool. So, all of that said, I will tell you that, my son's 28 now, and he was born with a disability. And there is this stigma of, people with disabilities, especially people who have significant disabilities, that they're only capable of, or they can only do certain things, and what I'm going to say is, it's called the 4 F's, as in Frank. It's people with disabilities can only work in the food area, or filth, cleaning, or people can only do the flowers, so that and stuff like that, the planning, and then folding. So there's this stigma of, oh, well, if they can't do this, they can always do that. And there's value to that. I mean, there's value to these particular jobs. My question to you is, knowing that, and I don't know if you're familiar with some of that history or not, but do you have any suggestions or idea to try and destigmatize that? If that makes sense. I hope my question makes sense, because, because it's been a long-standing thing that people with disabilities can only do certain things, they don't look at their qualities in so many different ways and all the different things. But for me, unstigmatizing was all the different areas you mentioned, but I didn't know if there was something specific that maybe you could share more about the horticulture or whatever, just in general, to help this summit, and help us, because that's what I think we're here to do, find out how we can partner with organizations like yourselves. So I'll unmute myself and let you answer.
Well, thank you, Diane. I think, part of why PHS is here is also for networking. And to be honest, I was a little concerned about presenting because we don't have specific programs right now that are directly designed for meeting people with different disabilities, but our programs have been pretty inclusive. And I think especially through some really dynamic partner organizations, we've been able to see good examples of how to lift up the important contributions that people make in these fields that sometimes have a stigma associated with them. I think also growing food is complicated for certain cultures and people because they associate that with harder, more challenging times. So I think we'd be really open to talking further and networking during this conference to try to figure out how we could expand our work to better serve all different populations of people. And then, I think one thing I can just uplift is, like, in Philly, we've been really lucky to partner with a group called Outreach, which is an organization that helps make art and other programming accessible to all sorts of different people across the Philadelphia region. So they've been a real strong partner with us in the flower show. And we've been starting to expand our partnership with Outreach to figure out how can we make sure our other programming is also really welcoming to as broad an audience as possible. So I'd love to follow up with you or other organizations that are at this meeting now to really explore ways that we could partner and support the great work that's happening. Because I think, like we do across all of our work, is providing kind of more, I guess, backbone support to organizations that are working directly with constituents that they feel are important and that they serve directly. So I think that there's a lot of opportunities for us to bring in, say, sites that are interested in growing food in a way that we could help with seedlings or technical assistance or sharing expertise and more of that. So please reach out to me. I did leave my email up here, and we can figure out ways that we can talk more. And I think with the stigma, I think part of it is just lifting up these stories of the impact that people are having in their community. not exactly directly related to what you're talking about, but like the work of cleaning and greening these vacant lots is not easy, and it's not, I don't know the right word, but it's hard and gritty work. Cleaning up debris, grading a site, cleaning up litter every 2 weeks when you come, and mowing. But I think making sure we're lifting up the impacts that these programs have in neighborhoods, like the 29% reduction in gun violence or almost 70% reduction in feelings of depression, like it makes the people who are spending their time and putting so much effort into cleaning these lots feel proud of the impact that they're having. And hopefully that would help people get more respect for all these different types of jobs that really do impact our livable environment and really the health and well-being of all of us.
Thank you, Julianne. And just to follow up, I'm glad you were working with Artreach and mentioned them. They're a wonderful organization.
They're amazing.
Yeah. And I do come from the perspective of inclusivity. So when I'm speaking about building something, I'm not speaking about building a garden for all people with disabilities. It would be building that, within the community. So,
Yes.
And I know you probably know that. And then just one follow-up to that, and I'll be done. Have you done anything with schools? Have you worked and partnered with any of the schools? I live in Delaware County, so I'm very familiar with Philadelphia as well. I work in the Philadelphia region as well. So I'll definitely be following up with you, but because there are transition age students, and that's where I started thinking about transition programs with the school district or any other charter schools or anything in Philadelphia.
Yeah, we do provide trainings for educators, formal, non-formal educators, around how to use gardening to support children's learning and young adults learning and well-being. And then we were starting to work with Elwyn and Easter Seals and other schools as a consortium to try to figure out how we could broaden our tools to make sure they were as inclusive as possible. So we've been looking, I know somebody commented in the chat around funding. So we have been looking for funding on how we can build up those partnerships as well, and have definitely learned a lot from our engagement. So I think if you do know of schools that might be interested, we would really welcome the teachers to join us. We'll have a Green City Teachers class happening this fall. And I think that teachers and non-formal educators and formal educators would get a lot out of that. It's very hands-on, very fun. And really, I think our facilitators do a good job at trying to lift up the expertise that exists within the network too, and within the class participants as well. So you'll find that information on our website, phsonline.org.
Okay, I think we had one other person who wanted to ask a question, and we have about 8 minutes left, somewhere around there. So Angela, did you want to ask your question, please?
I do. Hi, yes, and thank you. And I'm very much involved with CSAs in my community out here in Montgomery and Chester County. And Pottstown School District has done a fabulous job of having gardening at every elementary school and high school. So it's very much part of the curriculum, and it's absolutely outstanding. So I see, and I also know and appreciate gardeners because I am one. But Diane Perry, I would appreciate it if you would reach out to me, and I'll just offer my cell phone and my email address. It is 484-678-5000. And the email is Olmstead, OLM, as in Mary, STEAD, 4 PA, @gmail.com. Everything for people with disabilities and getting involved in the community, everything is dependent upon money. And there is money there in a general fund that this Commonwealth receives on the backs of the disabled like clockwork. But families have to organize and strategize, like whether it's Artreach, whether it's sustainable gardening, whatever anybody wants to do, it takes organizing and strategizing and everybody working towards a common goal. That is the importance of Olmstead, which is a constitutional Supreme Court ruling for the people with disabilities to live and work in their community. Everybody does what they're able to do, given the opportunities. And what I'm saying to the families with disabilities, which is our Pennsylvania DD Council, it's why our federal funds fund a DD Council, is to reach to that community, reach to the people with disabilities, and say, how do we enforce Olmsted? And this is how we enforce Olmsted: by awarding budget authority, because it is our disabled budget, award budget authority, and let the families and the people with disabilities decide how they want to use that budget. And once they have housing in the community, that's their community. The community would, if they don't have a sustainable garden, if they don't have vertical gardening, I mean, this is what's coming. I mean, our newly elected mayor of New York City, this is exactly what he's doing. He is growing gardens. He is turning over into lots. He is introducing vertical, sustainable indoor gardening. He's doing it. He's not asking permission. He's just doing it. And that's exactly what families of the disabled have to do. Don't ask permission. This is your adults' money. It's much like special education. It's a general fund. Why does anybody have to ask permission on how to use their money? Organize, strategize, email me, Olmsted, OLMSTEAD, the number 4 PA @gmail.com. We are building our own table. We are going to be very much involved in the community, but that takes power of numbers. Money's in the power, the money's already there. The power is now in the numbers. Let's organize and strategize. We can kick this off. We can have the biggest, best garden. We can have sustainable indoor gardening. We can grow our own food. We can become healthy people. Absolutely. Julianne, thank you. Power to you, girl. Keep going.
Angela, power to you. And thank you for those comments. I wrote down your email. I'll follow up with you. We are starting to work in Pottstown with the YWCA and the county health department. So I think it'd be really interesting to just connect and learn more about your important work.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Does anybody have any quick questions? We have about 4 minutes left. Okay, just a couple things to remember. We do all the presentations for the 2 days are located out on the Harrisburg University website. If you need to go out there, the links are out there as well. Also, you should have received an email from Professional Education at Harrisburg University. They'll be able to, you can access that information there. And we will be sending out, after the close of day 2 sessions, you will be receiving a brief survey to complete on the sessions in which you attend. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Julianne. This was a great presentation, such great information. And I think, there might be a lot of ways in which you could collaborate with some of the individuals that are on, have participated here. So thank you so much for your time. The next session will start at 11:30. It is the pop-up talk, session 3, and that will be track 1 only. So thank you all for participating and have a great rest of the summit.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Ashley. Thanks, everybody.